Welcome to the Flora Sage Podcast, a place where we help you create a life you're excited about. Welcome back to another episode of the Flora Sage Podcast. For those of you who don't know, I grew up in musical theater, so I will frequently break out in song. Ask my clients that. Half of our boxers are sung. Okay, so today we're going to talk about spending versus investing our time. And I want to share with you three things first, and then I'm going to riff a little bit about them. So, first thing, years ago, I heard a story of a gentleman who was hired to do a commencement address for a local college. So he goes up on stage and he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, I am going to share something with you that you are going to remember for the rest of your life." And he proceeds to stand there in silence for 5 whole minutes. After the 5 minutes of silence, which a lot of people were very uncomfortable with, he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, that was 5 minutes. Don't ever tell yourself that you only have 5 minutes so you can't do XYZ. You felt how long this 5 minutes was. Don't let that mindset derail you. Success is built on 5-minute increments." I heard this story years ago, and that helped me shift so much in how I think about the things that I want to do, not only in my business, but in my life as well. Now, the second thing that I want to share with you is an excerpt from Neville Goddard, his book, The Power of Awareness, which includes the bonus publication called The Awakened Imagination. And this is on page 166. And I quote, "On the morning of April 12th, 1953, my wife was awakened by the sound of a great voice of authority speaking within her and saying, 'You must stop spending your thoughts, time, and money. Everything in life must be an investment. To spend is to waste, to squander, to lay out without return. To invest is to lay out for a purpose from which a profit is expected.'" That's huge. Huge. Okay, the next thing that I want to share is by the Daily Stoic. This is 366 Meditations on Wisdom, Perseverance, and the Art of Living by Ryan Holiday. And this particular excerpt is from January 30th. And I quote, "You don't have to stay on top of everything. If you wish to improve, be content to appear clueless or stupid in extraneous matters. Don't wish to seem knowledgeable. And if some regard you as important, distrust yourself." That is Epictetus 13a. He continues, "One of the most powerful things you can do as a human being in our hyper-connected 24/7 media world is to say, 'I don't know,' or, more provocatively, 'I don't care.' Most of society seems to have taken it as a commandment that one must know about every single current event, watch every episode of every critically acclaimed television series or the one that's most popular, follow the news religiously, and present themselves to others as an informed and worldly individual. But where is the evidence that this is actually necessary? Is the obligation enforced by police, or is it just that you're afraid of seemingly silly at a dinner party by not knowing something? Yes, you owe it to your country and your family to know generally about events that may direct them or affect them specifically, but that's about all. How much more time, energy, and pure brain power would you have available if you drastically cut your media consumption? How much more rested and present would you feel if you were no longer excited and outraged by every single scandal and breaking story and potential crisis, many of which never come to pass anyway? So when I started telling people years ago that I just wasn't interested in a particular topic enough to find out more, or that I just didn't care about something, that freed up so much time. And it also started some pretty interesting conversations about social norms and about ways that we can simplify our daily lives. Now, also doing this, saying, I just don't care, it led to some really interesting looks, and also people saying, how could you not want to know more about this? But I simply say, I don't care enough about this issue to spend any time on it. I don't. And so a few years ago, I was at a mastermind group, and one of the mentors was a gentleman named Tom Black, and he's also known as the Boxcar Millionaire. And he said to us in one of our breakout groups, he said, time is the only asset that you have. Use it wisely. Well, that wasn't just something that he spieled off to try to sound fancy or whatever. Like, he literally lived this principle. And I remember one of the times we had this mix and mingle, and he came up to the group and he introduced himself. Hey, I'm Tom Black, yada, yada. I'm one of the mentors here. And he started to, chat with some of us. And after a while, we just turned to just kind of regular conversation that you do at a mix and mingle. And when he decided he just wasn't interested in the conversation anymore, he just left. Now, some of the people thought it was rude. I actually thought it was brilliant. Truly brilliant. I mean, think about it. How much time or how much better would your life be if you didn't waste time on the things that you didn't like or that you didn't care about? So think about your daily schedule, or actually, better yet, think about your to-do list. Now, one suggestion that I've shared with my clients over the last couple decades is this. When you create your to-do list, write next to each item how long you think it's going to take you to do each item. Now, if you don't know, get a timer and time yourself doing it. And after a few times, you're going to see on average how long it takes you to do certain things. Now, I approach things very differently when I tell myself just 5 minutes versus, oh my God, I have to do XYZ today. So when I know that something's only going to take me 3 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes, I'm more apt to do that thing than to keep putting it off. A few episodes, I actually talked about how long it actually takes to do something, and how it actually takes just as much time and effort to do something now as it does to keep putting it off, because we're using that brain power of I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this, which is pulling your energy away from that thing that you're currently doing to just do it. And when you do it, you're done with it. It's off your plate. It's out of your mind. You don't even have to keep thinking about it. And, one of the things that I've said so often over the last years is we can't manage time. We can only manage the tasks that we choose to do and the time we spend doing those things. I'll give you an example. Here in Arizona, a few times a year, the weeds start popping out of the rocks. And most people, if they're environmentally conscious, have rock yards instead of grass yards, because grass just takes up so much water. So all the weeds start popping out and they, of course, need to be dealt with. So instead of spending 2 hours weeding my yard all in one go, which honestly feels really overwhelming to me, I commit to just 5 to 10 minutes at a time. So I still get all the weeding done over the course of a week or so, but I'm doing it in 5 to 10 minute bursts, which feels really good. It's not draining for me and actually feels quite empowering, because when I think about, I don't want to spend like a solid 2 hour chunk of time doing yard work. I used to do that back in Wisconsin. That's one of the reasons why we moved, because we wanted to downsize, but we also wanted to minimize the amount of time that we spent with yard upkeep, because my time is better spent doing other things other than weeding my yard. You know what I mean? So today and over the next week, commit to simplifying your to-do list by adding how long you think each item is going to take, or how long you're committed to and are willing to work on a particular item. Like, I'm going to check email and I'm going to try to do an inbox zero, aka cleaning your entire inbox out. But instead of spending however long it's going to take me to do the entire thing, I'm just going to spend 10 minutes. Or I'm going to spend 10 minutes decluttering my closet or do a 10-minute quick clean instead of spending an hour or two. Because think about an hour-long chore. What happens? Your energy is probably going to drop. You're probably going to make an excuse not to do it. But if you literally only have to spend 10 minutes, that's so much easier. It's so much more doable. And then after the 10 minutes, if you're guided to, if you feel like, oh yeah, okay, I totally want to do this, what do? You keep going. But after the 10 minutes is done, if you're good, you're like, okay, I'm good. I'm going to stop. But you know what? You feel accomplished. You've invested that time wisely, and you didn't spend more time doing something that you didn't really want to do. And be really mindful about how you spend your time and begin investing it in things that truly matter to you right now during this phase of your life. And don't be afraid to tell people, you know what? I understand that you're really, really passionate about this particular topic, but I'm just not interested in it. You know, you can tell me more about it, but I'm not going to do my own research. I really just don't care enough about XYZ TV show to watch it. I'm good. And just be honest with them. And you'd be surprised at how much of an incredible conversation you can have with someone when you just open up and say, you know what? I just don't care. I'm just not that interested. Now, when you say I don't care about this topic, it's not saying that you don't care about the person. It's just that you don't care enough to spend time researching and doing it on your own. And, again, kind of going back to Tom Black, if you're in a group of people where they're talking about something that you're just not interested, give yourself permission to excuse yourself and say, excuse me, and pop out. You don't have to give a reason why. You can just say, excuse me, and back out. Or if you don't want to interrupt the conversation, just back away. I promise you the first couple times it's a little bit awkward, but I promise you it does get easier. So I hope that this podcast serves you today. If it has, please pop into iTunes, give me a 5-star rating, share it with all your friends. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next episode.